Yeah, well, let's dive into that DVR because we have one overwhelmingly popular choice this week, and that is the Bengals over the Jets. We pull our pick usage numbers from Yahoo. Yahoo makes those publicly available. And so right now, people who have entered picks on Yahoo, 48.9% of those people are taking the Bengals over the Jets. Obviously, something that plays into that is having the Bengals available. Bengals were a team that we didn't necessarily think was going to be in this position at the start of the season, that we didn't think they were going to necessarily be this good at the start of the season. They are this good, and now people have them available, and people have them available to use against a bottom feeding Jets team. But still, 48.9%, that is certainly a number that jumps out at you. Next most popular pick is the Chiefs over the Giants. That is at 18.3%. Bills over the Dolphins, 15.5%. Rams over the Texans at 6.7%. And then one that I think is very risky, Seahawks over the Jaguars at 3.4%. 3.4%, not a huge number, but still the fifth most popular selection in survivor pools as of this moment, as of our recording. So that's what we're looking at as the big plays this week. You and I in this pool have both used the Rams. We have both used the Bills. So we don't have a couple of those popular picks available to us. I mean, is this a week where you feel almost pot committed to fading the Bengals, though the chances of them getting upset do feel slim?
I want to do that. I want to play it that way because I think that's the right way to play a survivor pool. But try and tell yourself a story that actually makes you believe the Jets are going to win this game. I mean, with
Joe
Zach
Flacco,
Wilson
baby.
down especially. Yeah, Flacco, they trade for Flacco. So he's going to show up midweek with that supporting cast, and they're going to beat the Bengals? Why? How? Like,
Yeah.
I can't do it. So from a common sense and pot odds standpoint, I totally understand why you'd want to get away from a team that nearly half the pool might be using. You should do that. You should pivot here. I think the thing that also makes it difficult, aside from who the Jets are, is even if you are on board with the Bengals, you like them, you think they're a legit top 10 team, and maybe they are. I think my jury's
I think
still a
they
little
are.
bit out, but they're absolutely a good team if they're not a great team. This is the best possible time to use them. They're probably going to be favored in most of their remaining games. They're at least going to have a positive win percentage in those games based on those Mike Clay projections I talk about every week. But this game just jumps off the charts for the best possible time to use the Bengals, assuming you haven't used them already. Very few people have. So it's just so hard for me to get away from them as my one true pick, even though conditionally speaking, this is exactly the type of scenario that you usually want to avoid. Half the pool on one team, but I just don't think the Jets have the pieces in place to feel good about them as an upset candidate.
So to run through their schedule, next week they are home against the Browns. Then they have a bye. Then they're at the Raiders, home for the Steelers, home for the Chargers, home for the 49ers. So that is what, one, two, that's 6 games across 7 weeks. That takes you through week 14, the middle of December. And I really feel like, and we'll see where the Steelers go over the next month. I could see that being a spot to use the Bengals. I think we could definitely be interested in the Bengals in week 14, that home game against the 49ers. That could be a nice spot. It's their third straight home game, so they won't have done any traveling for, damn near a month at that point of the season. That'll be very nice for them. I could see that being a beneficial spot to use them, but definitely looking at the Jets, that has to be probably one of the top two, at absolute worst, top three spots to use them the remainder of the season. So as much as there is a pot odds case for them, I can see why you would go in that direction. It's not my pick here. I've got multiple survivor pools that I'm in. I have multiple entries in a couple of those pools. I will be using the Bengals on a couple of those. I am not using them for our purposes here because, as we call it, it's one true pick. And so if I can make one true pick, I'm actually going to go with the Chiefs over the Giants here, and I'm going to play that pot odds game. I'm going to hope that Joe Flacco rediscovers the magic going back to the Jets, and he's just ready to pick up right where he left off, and right where he left off in this offense. He has some familiarity with Mike LaFleur, so hopefully that's something that can just click right into motion and maybe pull off an upset against the Bengals. I will take the Chiefs over the Giants. Really don't think there's much of a concern here. Chiefs are 10-point favorites in this game. It's Monday Night Football. Got a very banged-up Giants team on one side of this, and it sounds like they're going to get Sterling Shepard. Maybe they get Kadarius Toney back, and so suddenly they wouldn't feel quite as banged up as they did this previous week. Still probably no Saquon Barkley for the Giants, but forget about all that. The demise of the Chiefs has been greatly, greatly overstated. This is still an offense that is moving the ball with a huge degree of success. And Ben Baldwin, a guy who you should definitely be checking out on Twitter, does some great work in the NFL analytics world, put out a tweet. I want to say I think this was after their loss to the Titans, and just how strange of a season the Chiefs are having. If you just look at percentage of plays that end in either a first down or a touchdown, the Chiefs are still number one in the league. And so if you are leading the league in percentage of plays that end in first downs or touchdowns, you're doing something right offensively. So I still think that the Chiefs, are they as good as they've been in previous seasons? I don't think so. Some of that interception regression, that turnover regression is coming back to bite them this year. The defense definitely, without question, is a problem. This is still a very good team. They are going to be in the playoffs. They are going to take care of business against the Giants. And I almost feel like a freedom to use them that I wouldn't if they were sitting at, at 6-1 or something like that on the season, because I would maybe feel a need to save them for later down the road. But this is a very good spot to use the Chiefs. They do have a tough schedule remaining in the back half of the season. They're going to be my one true pick in this spot.
Yeah, so what I think I'm going to end up doing, like I'm using the Bengals for the purposes of our show and continuing to have an entry that lives on, this fictitious entry that is part of this show. I think I'm playing Kansas City in the actual pentathlon because I'm hoping the Jets find a way, that the Bengals do all the stupid things you can do to lose a game, right? A couple of turnovers, allow a special teams touchdown. It's going to take so much weird stuff for it to happen, but Kansas City does not have a lot of short-term appeal. In the next 3 games, they actually have below 50% win probabilities after this one, so you're not really getting a lot for a while from them. So saving them for later is not really a good way to go. I'm on board with you. I think this is still a dangerous team. I think if you believe in them, this is a great time to get a bet in for them to either win the AFC or to even possibly win the Super Bowl. They're at plus 1,600 right now over at BetMGM, so is it really that far-fetched that they're going to get right in the second half of the season and be one of the hottest teams in the league going into the postseason? Not really at all to me. So I think it kind of begins here. I'm amazed that Patrick Mahomes cleared concussion protocol. I think that probably raises some questions about the quality of said concussion protocol. But if he's playing in this game, I love the Chiefs this week. It's a huge bounce-back opportunity for them.
Yeah, those next 3 games that you referenced, home for Green Bay, and even if Green Bay ends up playing on Thursday night without Devontae Adams, pretty safe to assume he'll be back for that game. Then at Vegas, then home for the Cowboys, then their bye. Really not feeling great about the Chiefs as a survivor play in any of those 3 spots. I think the earliest, if you don't use them against the Giants this week, the earliest you'd really be considering it probably comes in week 13 at home against the Broncos. That'll be a great spot to use them. But that's the earliest point you're going to want to have them for. And who knows, maybe we do have a couple of bad weeks in a row here, and suddenly week 13 isn't even in play in some survivor pools. So that's why I feel good about using, one of the many reasons I feel good about using the Chiefs as my one true pick here in week 8